And like I said, we will continue with our next speaker here, which is Andreas Mueller from ABB E-Mobility. Andreas, you will look at how to make truck charging profitable and scalable, and how to juggle CCS and MCS chargers at one location. Andreas, what is the secret?
Yeah, the secret is that there is no one size fits all. And I will show how actually an offering needs to go beyond just one charger type. It needs to go through a portfolio of charger, but then also be complemented with energy management, with asset management, actually to deliver a full solution that is fit for purpose for truck charging.
Okay, Andreas, you only have 20 minutes, but it sounds like a long list of things to go through. Electrifying logistics, the path to reliable and profitable and scalable truck charging. Andreas, the stage is yours.
Perfect, thanks very much. So Tobias was mentioning the word confidence to the logistic companies. I would now explain a bit why there can be confidence also for the operators that there is a right infrastructure to make this journey happen. We have, as ABB, a very long history in charging, more than 14 years. And I think what I would like to point out is that actually truck charging is an interesting evolution because it combines elements of depot charging, as we do already on many use cases for buses. For instance, we have the largest bus depot in Qatar with 500 buses that we electrified, but it also leverages obviously what we have been learning around the last 10 years on public charging with more typical split systems. When we look at truck charging as an infrastructure provider, we are actually looking at these 4 challenges that clearly go beyond just the hardware, but that extend into services that include energy management and fleet planning to make it successful. As mentioned also by Tobias, so truck charging requires long-haul trucks to have confidence that they can charge, and to do so we need to have this 1 megawatt plus power, which is now being addressed with MCS and entirely specific site concepts for public trucks. We have brownfield depots, logistic companies that are sitting on a huge asset with their logistics centers, maybe with limited grid connection. We need to bring cost-efficient multi-outlet charging solutions to these locations and combine this with energy management. Some of you might be involved in the German truck tender. The reliability expectations of the industry on truck charging are immense. We are talking about penalties when an outlet is not available for more than 15 minutes. So this is an unseen level of industrial grade uptime reliability expectations. And that only goes then along with the right asset management strategy. And last but not least, we are seeing that these fleets are obviously business engines. They need to make our customers or the logistic companies profitable. And it is in a very highly competitive market, which means that these fleets need to be managed in a very predictable and resilient way, which makes charge planning an important element. Charge planning both in the depot, because you need to know when a truck is coming in, needs to be charged to leave again on the next duty. But it also means predictability on the public network, because you need to be sure that you will have an MCS spot at the time that you need it. To really understand all the detailed requirements that we are addressing, we are looking at 2 use cases in a lot of detail. And I think that was also actually nicely presented before by Tobias. So we have this depot type of charging. We call this middle mile transportation companies as a customer segment, where we have the trucks charging at lower power at many outlets, either during the day when they are loading or unloading, or also overnight. And the struggle here is often that this is brownfield, limited space, limited grid connection. So a dynamic allocation of power is fundamental. And what is actually a bit unexpected maybe on the truck charging world is that even in these trucks, payment and authorization is key, because we have a lot of third-party trucks or third-party drivers being at these locations that need to pay and authorize. On the other side, we have the typical miles use case, this enablement of long-haul transportation, where we need this megawatt charging, few outlets, but super high power. But actually what is not to be underestimated, also long-haul transportation requires overnight charging, which then again is actually a use case that is quite close to what we sometimes see in depots. I will now give a few examples on how we want to address this. So our conclusion as an infrastructure provider is that we can only succeed in this industry as a provider of technology to CPOs and logistic companies if we can offer products, cloud services, such as asset management, payment, as mentioned before, and energy management, and combine this with an excellent service package that will then together create a solution that allows a profitable and scalable deployment of this infrastructure. I will now go to the first pillar to show a bit what we do on the hardware to make the hardware fit for purpose in truck charging. So this is not so much about releasing products or announcing products to the world here, this event. We will do that in a dedicated separate event, obviously, but as ABB, we are having a wide portfolio consisting of all-in-one chargers, split systems, and MCS chargers. This is needed to build the ideal infrastructure, first of all. So the flexibility is key here to cover the use cases. Secondly, to make sure that we do not compromise on the reliability and the performance of these products, we need to make sure that there is a consistent platform strategy backing up all these different product types. And I will show you now in a few examples on how we recommend to do this and how we are approaching this topic. So we have developed a new platform over the last 2 years, which has 3 core principles that we follow. It's about user experience, performance, and reliability. User experience is super critical because we are also seeing payment transactions, etc., on these public sites or also in the depots. So we cannot underestimate the importance of user experience. But just the same importance is the performance and the reliability. We have, for instance, invested into a new power electronics platform that we have developed in-house that is fully scrutinized for the mission profile of truck charging and heavy-duty charging. So another example could be the cable. We have seen in the industry a lot of experience with high maintenance costs on cables in depots and on public sites. And therefore, we have developed an own technology that now addresses again these mentioned aspects of power and reliability. With this new cable, we can charge 400 amps almost continuous at 25 degrees, which means that we can charge trucks now at 300 plus kilowatts without having to use a liquid-cooled, higher maintenance cost technology. Secondly, it's not just the performance, it's also reliability. We have actually used special materials to develop this connector, composite materials to increase reliability. And if it breaks still, despite the reliability, we can exchange all the components on the connector as a spare part, which reduces a lot the total cost of ownership, because you don't replace a full cable, you just replace maybe a mating interface or a pin or a housing. Then the new thing is MCS truck charging, obviously, where we have been involved in standardization from the start. We have deployed last year 10 proof of concept systems around different OEM brands and done a lot of successful testing. And we are driving this collaboration further in projects like Hola, CEFES in Belgium, eCharge in Sweden, etc., to learn from real experience on megawatt charging. So this is a very important pillar where we follow the truck capabilities to build the right infrastructure to it. But it's not just about MCS as mentioned, it's actually a combination of many use cases, as you can see here. So we need to facilitate also this loading dock charging, overnight charging with these products. And if you want to really do this smart, you need to consider a couple of specific aspects. So one topic that we wanted to highlight as an example in this presentation is the fact that an MCS session is expected to deliver about 250 or more euros per session. You're looking at the size of the battery, 45 minutes charging at about 45 cents. A CCS truck of today's technology will actually only deliver 80 to 90 euro per session in the same time. So if now a CCS truck blocks an MCS truck, you are losing 200 euros, which accumulates to 40,000 euros a year if you only miss one session a day. So this means that you need to segregate the two use cases. And the problem is even more severe, because typically these truck charging sessions are accumulating around the lunch hours, because you're not driving overnight, you're leaving either the location of the overnight charging or the depot fully charged. Over lunch, you want to recharge and then continue your next 4.5 hours. So we have really a high risk of congestion from a truck demand on these sites over the daytime. How could you address this concern by setting up the right charging infrastructure? So what we propose is a setup where we have a segregated fast lane. So you see that here on the right side with ANSYS outlets, similar like shown also before by Tobias, where also the outlet of the trucks is very standardized, and we can make a fit for purpose ANSYS system with up to 1,200 kilowatts or more per outlet. This needs to be highly reliable, focused on serving the use case at its pure opportunity charging flavor. So very fast, very predictable. On the other part of the location, we are recommending to have a CCS-based charging system with potentially like one cabinet of 400 kilowatts that then can charge, in this example here now, 4 outlets. And you can have a very long cable, because actually CCS outlets, it was also visible on some of the pictures before from Tobias, these outlets are all over the place, sometimes left, sometimes right. So you need to have very long cables and cable management to actually facilitate this. And this is very well done from a from an overhead structure. And then you can serve during the day CCS trucks here to avoid that they are blocking your MCS lanes at lunch. At the night, you can, however, use this for all the trucks, MCS and CCS, for overnight charging in the rest areas. So with this, we believe we can enable a real profitable and future-proof site concept. But then there is also this service element. I've mentioned it before. So the penalties that we are confronted with are going to be immense. So we are expecting really a lot of focus on infrastructure operators on this topic. And asset management is not just about, to have service people running around. It's actually also more holistically to be seen as a full configurable set of offerings that together then are enabling a high-performing network. Our concept starts with so we have 4 pillars, and the concept starts with what we call asset setup. On each of these, so asset setup, then we go in asset management, spare part management, and on-site support. Each of these pillars has a KPI and is a very performance-driven aspect of an offering that we can then embed into contractual frameworks as well. Asset setup includes first-time commissioning success. Once the charger is running, we require asset management for remote configuration and troubleshooting. We would measure the performance of asset management with the charging success rate. If then something goes wrong, we have remote troubleshooting and then assess whether a spare part is needed, which is captured during delivery time of spare parts. And obviously, we need then a site delegation together with that right spare parts to deliver this to the site. This can be managed by ABB only. This can be managed by ABB and the customer or service provider. So we are very flexible and configurable on this setup. So this is an important pillar as a concept on the overall successful deployment of charging infrastructure, and it is digitally enabled. So we have actually built a IoT environment where we are not just remotely accessing chargers and configuring them and diagnosing, but we are also having the whole service operations managed in that platform for us and service partners, or potentially even customer if this is required. In this tool, we have service ticketing, we have parts deployment, we have the whole network, service network, which is enabled with this platform. So without this digital backbone, we will never achieve otherwise the right KPIs of our service agreements. Then last but not least, we have that pillar of energy management in our offering that we believe is important for our customers to succeed on the deployment of infrastructure. And we actually do this in multiple ways. But the very basic element is that we need to have a resilient, fail-proof energy management system, which is making sure that we never exceed the grid capacity. We call this also "don't blow the fuse" use case. And we enable to bring the power where it's needed. So remember the different site concepts that we have looked at. You might not want to serve the same outlets at the same time of the day with the same priority, and this we can cover in this solution. And at the end, this is also a tool then to optimize cost, because when we are integrating battery storage or renewables on site, then we can actually also reduce the cost of energy served that is used to serve the EVs. This is built on a hardware offering and a related cloud suite. So if you're putting all these pillars back together, what is our approach to reliable, profitable truck charging infrastructure? It's actually the combination of these three pillars. And I hope I could show you now a few examples on how we as ABB are approaching the topic and how we recommend this to be taken forward. It has to do with reliable, fit-for-purpose, platform-based hardware, strong collaboration with OEMs to ensure interoperability, in particular on the new standards, MCS. We have these cloud services, asset management and energy management, and we have an excellence in service packages, which comes with the configurable offering based on these four pillars I've mentioned, but it also comes along with an extensive own and third-party service network. With this, I hand over back to Carla. I hope I didn't overextend my time.
You did not, no worries. Okay. Thank you very much, Andreas. I have a few questions for you. If you show journalists a coming soon slide, the first thing I have to ask, when and where? So the split system and in the MCS, when will we see that?
These systems are going to be deployed still in the first half of next year in first pilots. So we are very close to finishing the development cycle, but we will make a formal launch of these products in the coming weeks and months.
Okay, and one thing that you actually you said on one of the slides, but you didn't actually read that part, was that reservation function that to kind of manage congestion around noon. You said there are a lot of trucks charging. Is ABB working on a reservation system, or you say, okay, that's more for the CPO, or are you going to deliver a solution for that as well?
It's actually a very interesting use case, and in the last 10 years I'm in this business, it has already been discussed a lot around cars. Now, actually, I think in truck, it really will have a very good stand to actually once now truly come to the market. And it will be it's a very complex use case, as simple as it sounds, because it involves not just a back-end system, as you mentioned. There's at the end an e-mobility service that you need to provide to reserve these locations. But we need to have a good way on the charger, for instance, to visualize that this charger is reserved and not available. That starts with how we are, and that's why this user experience domain is not just a side effect or just for private cars. It's actually also for trucks relevant. How do you explain to a truck driver that this site is not available due to reservation before the truck even arrived? But even if it arrived, that he does the right things. So there are very interesting elements, and we are working in ABB on both the user experience on the charger, the integration over OCPP with the different profiles that are needed for this, and then obviously integrating this into the use cases of our customers, which are the operators of the world. Yeah.
So was that a yes or a no? Is ABB working on a reservation system, or are you going to leave that to the CPO?
Yeah, we are working on a reservation system, but we cannot deliver this end to end ourselves. We need to contribute, obviously, with a big important part of the solution. Yeah.
Okay. You just mentioned 10 years in the industry. So you set up a lot of infrastructure for electric cars. What mistakes should not be repeated with electric trucks, you would say?
Yeah, that's we have obviously integrated a lot of these learnings into our concepts and an offering moving forward. We have made our mistakes the last 10 years, and we don't want to do them a second time. I would mention specifically the fact that a mix of products is needed, but that mix of products cannot compromise the stability and the reliability of the individual product. And you can only overcome that with a very solid platform approach. I give you an example. When we develop now new power electronics, we do that on the first lead product. We have it on the A400, for instance, now on the market. But then we are making basically a power cabinet that is a bit like an A400 without the screen and without cables, but it serves as a power cabinet. So we can leverage a very industrial top grade design across the different use cases, because then the different products do not multiply the complexity of maintenance, product support, operations, etc. So I think this platform-based product family is for us a key learning and a key enabler that we want to integrate in our offering moving forward.
Okay, I have a few questions from the chat. I want to ask one of them. Does ABB E-Mobility intend to position your an automatic charging solution, in parentheses, already proposed for electric bus charging for electric trucks? Is that something in the making?
Yes, this is something in the making. We have to always be careful to bring the right things at the right time to the market. But yes, automated charging is a very important topic. We are deploying these systems already on buses, as mentioned, with pantograph systems. On trucks, there is a good base now with the MCS side, because there you have a standardized location of the outlet or the inlet of the car, which is making it possible then to automate in a second step. But this is not the core of the products of the next 1-2 years. This is more for us a roadmap of products that actually is prepared for it, but we'll launch later.
And another question is, how would you tackle the off-tent roads? So off the not along the main highways, but more off to the left and right. What are your solutions for that?
Yeah, so many of the solutions are very widely spread. You can use them as long as you have the right mix of products. Again, so you have then different types of outlets on one location. What will be interesting is actually to leverage some of these depot facilities, maybe also during the day for other trucks to charge on these locations as a e-mobility service. So you can actually then identify truck charging opportunities, maybe off the main highways, leveraging infrastructure that was built to, for instance, overnight charge at the logistics center, and then we are rerouting this energy to some dedicated charges that are accessible also from the outside. So I think that's one of the opportunities potentially to make that network grow faster than having to deploy many dedicated public sites.
Okay, since we have some time, I'm going to continue asking the questions from the chat. I did promise that I would do that. There was a question that was actually for Tobias, but I didn't get to ask it back then, so I'll ask you about the length of the cables. You mentioned they have to be very long because you have CCS on either side. How long exactly are the cables, or how long do they have to be?
Yeah, so there's a limit on the standard that is actually 10 meters for CCS charging. Above 10 meters, you are risking to encounter problems on the interoperability, let's say a bit generically. So our CCS cables on many of the products we are having are reaching 7, 8, 9 meters in this range. But if you would make an 8-9 meter long MCS cable delivering 1,500 amps, this would obviously be a huge loss of energy along the way. So the MCS cables are as short as possible, and we do that now with the defined location of the inlet on the truck. While the CCS cables, we would recommend to have them between 7 and 9 meters, which, however, also calls for cable management, because we have then otherwise a problem with cables sitting on the ground, trucks driving over it, and this is just something that needs to be managed with additional means. Coming down from the roof is one option with so-called balancers or cable reels. Another option could be just a standalone cable management. But yeah, these are some of the very practical challenges that we need to solve together.
And maybe also looking ahead to our next speaker already a little bit, how do you think companies like Sono and Scania impact the coming future, or the charging in the future? That's also a question from the chat, sorry.
So companies like what, Scania?
Like Sono and Scania. Let's stick with Scania because that makes more sense with our next speaker as well.
Yeah, so obviously it's like at the early days of public car charging. It's I had it on one of the slides. We follow the truck, we follow the car. So at the end, I think we should not make it a chicken and egg topic, because companies like Mylens are doing a great work to actually have infrastructure available and give this confidence. We come with the right hardware to equip these sites, and the truck companies need to come with the right trucks. Important, I think, is really two elements. One is that the capabilities of the truck need to be fit for purpose of the duty that they need to serve, with the battery size, the distance they can drive. I think we are on a really good track with the next generation of trucks to achieve this. And then they need to be at the cost point where the business case is actually there. So this is not just a regulation imposed transformation, but this is actually something companies want to embrace because it helps them to be more competitive. So that's how I would say to have the right trucks at the right cost point is very critical for this whole ecosystem to take off as promised. And then we are, I think, very well set for the future.
All right, Andreas, thank you so much.